listening to the Shite Talk podcast show. Shut up and sit down.
Once again, forgot to do the intro. So Ken will be along very, very shortly. This is Shite Talk podcast show, episode 221 of the show. But yeah, I think I'm just as soon as I hit record from now on, I am going to tell Ken that we are doing the intro, because I keep forgetting. It's 2 weeks in a row, and we talked today about all sorts. We recorded it during Storm Barra, which happened on Wednesday-ish into Thursday. So we kind of started off talking about that, and we got just went on a tangent. We talked a little bit about a boss who laid off 900 staff on a Zoom call, and one of us thought he was all right and he did the right thing, and the other one thought he was an absolute cunt. And I'll let you figure out which one was which, who thought it was okay and which one thought it was very not cool. And we also talked about if we're going to possibly go into a recession, and because of a mortgage company laying off 900 staff, is that a canary in a coal mine? And we were talking about, we mentioned Idiot of the Week. Surprise, it was Machine Gun Kelly. But I think he was just thrown in there for just to have a Idiots of the Week. And we also talked about work parties. Christmas work parties was another thing. I'm trying to remember because it was 2 days ago when we recorded this, and I made pretty much no notes of this. So it was Christmas work parties as well. Whether we were for them, whether we thought they were. Are you in favour of having them? Are they worth having? And as well as that, we also talked about Michael Fury pulling out of the fight against Logan Paul. And yeah, that was the show. So we might as well just get into it. No. Were you affected at all with the whole storm? Or right now?
Yeah, not really. Like, Aiden didn't go to work now this morning, but she might go later if it calms down a bit.
Yeah, is it bad up where you are?
Yeah, like, it's worse than I was expecting it to be. Like, when the rest of the country was getting battered, like, I have a friend that lives in Leitrim, he was like, oh, it's mental over here. And then I was like, it's not too bad here. But then last night, like, didn't get any sleep last night, just fucking wind going fucking mad, baiting the door out of it.
Yeah.
The doormat's nearly gone through the fucking front door.
Oh, fuck, it was that bad, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like it wasn't too bad where I am either. But in Dublin it was really bad. Like where I was working, all there's these like trees that were like during the summer were planted there. Like 4 of them were snapped because the wind was that strong. There was like branches as we were driving off. There's branches all over the all over the roads as we're driving up, and like. Even where we have to go to get water, there was like, there's all these empty crates stacked up on top of each other, and you're driving here. It's like, should these really be that high? Is there not like some health and safety protocol in periods of strong wind? We take the empty boxes down.
Yeah, like I was driving yesterday, and there was like trees down and stuff. I was like, huh.
Yeah,
I haven't seen this in a while.
Yeah, but like when I got back to the yard, we were like it was grand. It was a little bit of rain, but it was grand. Other than that, it was almost a nice day. It was just like it's a little bit windy, but it wasn't too bad. But then I think last night it did start picking up, and like even as the day went on, it got a little bit worse.
Yeah, like even like now it's not too bad at the minute, but it's still fucking windy. I don't know if you can hear it. Like it's still kind of like
it was
going to the ground.
It was bad there like 20 minutes ago. It has started to calm down. It was meant to kind of the orange warning that was given was only meant to last till 4 o'clock in the morning. So that has lasted a little bit longer. But yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily orange right now out there. I'm probably sure coastal places. Apparently, Wexford is still pretty bad.
Yeah, it's mad. Like
I was gonna say, like, I think places it got like 140 kilometers winds, and there's still every year. I'm always surprised by this. Every year there's a trampoline incident. Like, people haven't learned their lesson.
yeah.
They haven't learned their lesson to this point. Like, if you have a trampoline, like, tie it down, take it apart. Like,
Do you know,
that thing
you don't
flies.
even have to. All you have to do with it is turn it upside down.
Turn upside down and it doesn't catch the wind. Like, have the net
Yeah.
facing the ground. I don't
Like,
know, that would make it worse, because that's
All
normally,
you have to, you take the net off it,
yeah,
and you just turn the actual trampoline upside down.
yeah, and I guess because wind can't get under it. It's that netting that creates all all the wind that gives it the lift.
Yeah, people are just stupid.
And like every year, my cousins, he has a swing set, and that went into the next field beside him, and I was like, every year, like, people don't learn their lesson. There's
I think
trampoline.
people are just like, there's that Irish thing that it happened last year, doesn't mean it's going to happen this year.
I know, like, like, we always see around stores, we always see like it going into motorways, and then or people peeling it off their fence, or going like doing damage to somebody's car because like. And I know it goes, we all knew because we love talking about the weather in Ireland. We love, like, anytime there's, like, you even said at the start, I think there might be a bit of snow. But, like, we were talking about the storm coming for the last few days, so people kind of knew about it. It wasn't like it hit us out of the blue, like, oh, Jesus, what's this? So, like, I just don't, I don't understand people who are now peeling off their fence, or it has went missing. They don't know where they're gone. They should be fined. I think there should be a fine.
I think as well, like, Irish people forget that we're an island that isn't particularly very big.
Remember the woman who, I think she died now, but she decided, she decided during the last storm, I think it was a red storm, to like park her car at the side of a cliff.
Oh, I remember something about this.
Yeah, there was something about somebody was on holiday, like down in Clare or something like that, and decided during a category red storm, like first time I've ever heard that a storm was red, that they decided to go camping at a cliff.
As you do.
Yeah, so like, it's, for some reason it brings it the like most idiotic of people, because like there's a woman filmed getting in for a swim, like down some coastal area, and you're like, well, I don't really think emergency services go out and fish you out of the sea if you go missing during a storm. Like, if there is a storm, you started getting to sea. I was thinking, like, well, if you got yourself out there, you have to get yourself back in.
Like, do you remember there was a woman that drove down around Salt Hill?
Yeah.
They were like, stay away, and like the waves were coming up over the car.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember her?
Yeah. Because like every year, Teresa Manning must go, oh, there's a storm coming. She's going to get a storm of don't make unnecessary journey, these videos.
Yeah, the only thing I love every time there's a storm is that the remix version of that of that news report makes its way back into the public domain.
She must. It was the same way, your man with the ice and RT were doing the news report and saying it was very slippery.
Oh yeah, I hate him though.
The guy who fucking went on his head.
Yeah. Oh no, the frostbite guy.
Oh no, yeah, the frostbite guy can get fucked. Well, no, but you know that clip? There's a RT we're doing like
where he slips.
Yeah, and like absolutely lands like on his fucking shoulder and head and came straight. No one knows what happened to him after that. But like every time there's snow, he's out there anonymously going, "Oh, that was me. Oh, here it comes. We're gonna get all these clips again." Like, surely his family. Like, I wonder if he told anybody. Like, I'm so curious what happened to that guy. And like people have tried to track him down. People have looked to see like who he is, have like made appeals for him to come forward to like have a story told. He's just like, no, not.
It's very too embarrassed.
Yeah, exactly. But like, yeah, she goes like, think about Teresa Mannion, who was she was a reporter, and she was doing a weather report saying like, don't make unnecessary journeys. Like, talk about unnecessary. She asked it like, we're going to plant you in the middle of a storm at the coast, right? So people can get a visual picture of not making an unnecessary journey. Like, we could do this in studio, in a well insulated, warm studio, but instead we're going to stick you up like Salt Hill with a hat and a beanie and a microphone, and you just shout at the camera to not make a necessary journey because the wind's like competing you for volume here.
Do you know the clip that I love? You know where she's doing that and the stop sign hits her.
Is this like a taking a piss clip?
Yeah.
No, I haven't
She's
seen
like,
that.
don't make unnecessary journeys. And next thing, boom, fucking stop sign plows her over.
Yeah, some people are really great with that. They can make you actually like very convincing videos, like where really like you're like, oh, holy shit, did that actually happen?
Yeah, funny.
Yeah, she was. I don't think she does weather anymore. She does like, I think she does work with like RSA. I do hear her on ads. Well, yeah, it's be funny every time there's a storm. We're like, yep, get back out there and say your line. She must be like, fuck off. I am not doing that again.
It's like Santi at this time.
Yeah, so it's
every time there's a storm, you're just waiting for it.
Yeah, it's like send the other intern turn out this time. So it must be like this, like if you're young, if you're starting off, they're like, okay, there's a storm, off you go. Okay, then get out there and say the line.
Do your thing.
Do your thing. Talk about lines and doing our thing. Do you have any stories, or are you just going to talk about the weather?
Or you can talk about the weather if you want. I have one story.
Oh yeah, that's good.
It's a mortgage company boss in the US that sacked 900 employees on a Zoom call.
Yeah, I did hear about this. And do you know what? Sometimes like I'll go on the same news article sites and I'll write 3 or 4 stories about the same thing and go, oh Jesus, this seems to be a big story. Everybody's talking, and then I realize, oh no, this site's just talking about it for some whatever reason. I did hear about this though. 900 people, like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot on a Zoom call. This is obviously a gigantic call, but you know when I don't know, because I never got called to a Zoom call, and I presume you haven't either for a meeting. But
yeah,
it would be noticeable if you were one of those 900 people if you weren't bothered going on the Zoom call that day, and like you didn't realize you were getting fired, or you didn't go on the Zoom call. So they said, well, technically I wasn't on that Zoom call. I was meant to be, but I couldn't be arsed. So does that mean I still have my job?
I'm assuming it would be kind of like I'm assuming it was a corporate Zoom call since 900 people on it, but I'd say it's kind of like a conference call.
Yeah. Oh, do you mean like all 900 people will be different offices?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I was wondering, because like if I knew I was on a call with 900 people in the morning at like, let's say 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd be like, the fuck I'm going on that line. They don't know it's like one person not being there. Like with 900 people, only 720 people are there. They probably should be the ones that keep their job, and the other 300 be flecked off. But like, yeah, imagine if you missed that call. You're just like, oh, do I still have my job then? I was meant to be on that call. But
I'd say if you missed that call, it's probably even worse.
If you missed that call, you probably deserve to be fired because you probably weren't the most like dedicated member of staff to have like worked there. Do you know what the company was or what they did? I know that your man has been like dragged through the like thing. Everyone's like, how bad?
They're a mortgage company called Better.com.
And why did they need to let off 900 people, did they say?
So the CEO just came on the call and he said, if you were on this call, you're part of the unlucky group that are being laid off. Your employment is terminated effective immediately. The market has changed. We're moving on with it in order to survive. Ultimately, it was my decision, and I want you to hear it from me. I did not want to do this. The last time I did this, I cried. This time, I hope I'll be stronger.
He's a brave
That was
man.
the end of the call.
All right, fair enough. Well, do you know what? I know, like, your man's gonna be like, people are, oh, what a asshole. But when you have to lay off 900 people, he could have just sent emails. He could have been like, he could have done it like a lot less personal. I kind of feel like he did it the most personal way with that large many people. I know people are like calling him probably all sorts and saying how bad he is, but like, if it was his decision, or if like he felt like the company needed to lay off staff for whatever reason, or he said something about the property market and possibility of like a recession on the way, when mortgage companies are laying off 900 staff, that could be like a, whereabouts was this mortgage company?
America.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like he did, like, in fairness, he took ownership of it. He didn't say like, oh, this has been a hard decision and no one wants to see it. He goes, this was my decision ultimately, and I don't want to do this. But like, at least he didn't try to like say, oh, well, you know, these things happen and there's no one really responsible and we're all very sorry to see you go. At least he said, okay, it inevitably was my decision. I had to do this in order to for the betterment of the company. I don't like doing this, but yeah. What's your take on it?
I think he's an asshole.
What do you think he's an asshole?
Like, he didn't give them redundancy or anything. He's just like, you're fired, bye.
Does America like, where is employment law around America in terms of redundancy?
Well, I'm assuming it's still a thing.
Yeah. I presume like, yeah.
I think Americans call them severance packages.
Yeah, like, they should be entitled. Well, if they are entitled, if there are like legal processes there, and imagine with 900 people, there's probably a union somewhere.
I doubt there's a union for them.
Yeah. Then, well, you could just bring them to the small claims court if there is such a thing in America, and claim for that they owe you for severance for whatever it is.
I think it's like an extremely asshole thing to do. And like, what, 3 weeks before Christmas?
Yeah, I know it's 3 weeks before Christmas. But if there like, if the start of January would have been any better. Like, if these things are going ahead, if you had to lay off staff, I know there's some people say there would have been other ways in order to possibly keep jobs, as well as like, in terms of, as well as like make the company viable, like take pay cuts, this kind of thing for top earners, and all these other things.
Like, he didn't really give a reason either.
He said the market is changing, didn't he? He said the market is changing, and we need to make these changes in order to make the company viable. So obviously he feels like the market may be slowing down.
But he also forgot to mention that they made an extra 750 million profit this year.
Yeah, maybe
so the company is more profitable, but I need to sack a lot of people.
Yeah, but maybe he feels like the property market is slowing down. So he said in next year or the year after that we're not going to be giving as much mortgages out. We're probably going to secure the company's future by laying off these staff, or maybe they're going to outsource the staff to other countries. Like, maybe it's call centers, so you might be outsourcing those jobs to like call centers or to other companies like that, because it might be cheaper in the long run. I do kind of feel like, in terms of, there is a kind of erosion of people's employment rights lately. Like, I've heard a few things, like, in terms of employment rights of people, especially with like contractors, like companies will.
Contractors have no employment rights whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the way it's kind of going for. I know a lot of people in a lot of the haulage industry, and stuff like that. And I've heard like people who had to miss appointments with their doctor for diabetes, getting blood work done and stuff like that, because they didn't have anybody to cover their run, and because they're self-employed pretty much,
Yeah,
they have
and
to
like
have it covered, or else they'd lose their contract because they're violating it.
more and more companies are trying to like get their employees classed as being independent contractors rather than employees, because you don't have to pay for like
Holidays.
holiday, and you don't
Yeah.
have to pay like insurance, and you don't have to pay whatever.
Yeah, you don't have to pay for anything. Yeah, exactly. Especially if it is something where the contractor is driving their own vehicle, then you don't have to. You don't have any like mechanical costs, any insurance costs, anything like that. All those like things are gone, and like I think they make it look like they're going to earn more money, but like realistically, you're not, and you're giving up all your rights as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of shite.
I also don't trust unions. I know people said, like you said, these aren't in they aren't in a union. I kind of feel like unions are a little bit corrupt now. I kind of feel like
It's 50-50. Like they're corrupt as fuck, but you're also better off in one than out of one.
do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember talking to a teacher before, and she was saying that like she couldn't cover a class because on a free period, because you're not meant to work whatever meant to above a certain amount of hours, and like even if she wanted to help out the place where she worked or cover a free class, which is just basically sitting there making sure that you can't do that because it violates your terms of your working conditions. Even if you've been working there for years and you're kind of like, oh well, I want to help out the school, like they're in a tight spot, like I don't mind doing it, and I wouldn't mind earning a bit more money if it meant I could earn a bit more money, but because of the unions, like they wouldn't allow it. I probably am remember that story wrong, but something like that, and I was just like, for stuff like that, I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's like there's 50-50, but like sometimes if shit goes wrong for you in your job, like it's a what if situation.
Yeah, see that's the thing.
Like
That's why
if you get sacked, the union will be the one that will pay like your legal fees and stuff.
yeah, so like that's what people. That's what anyone who I've talked to who is in a union had said. Like they tend to have it back just in case. Like if you get fired for whatever reason, you have kind of support there. There's that kind of support, and like I think like probably in most parts, if you look at places that are unionized compared to not unionized, working conditions, pay, all the above is probably better. I'd imagine that is probably better. And
Yes, it's slightly better, but you have situations where somebody is definitely taking backhanders in a union, and
see that's the thing, because like certain unions, I know, you can't pick really your union. You can't go, oh, I quite like this union, because
they have it tied up.
yeah, because usually if you go into a job, you have a choice of like 2 or 3 unions. If you're lucky, sometimes it's less, and you have to pick between those things. So like, if you were a corrupt union person and you knew every year this company employs 50 or 60 people, like I'm getting the money either way, because like they're like 90% of people will pick between 1 or 2 of these unions. So like, fuck it if if people are getting screwed over, because a third company could come in, be more complicit to the company, and the company go, oh well, we're no longer dealing with them. We're not dealing with that union. We're not recognizing that union, and this third company could come in.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like there should be a regulatory agency where, if like, let's say a company where like these 900 employees are being screwed over, and their employment rights aren't being protected, and the union aren't sticking up for them, that there should be a kind of a government body to go in and go, hey, sort your shit out. They pay you good money.
Yeah, you see, for some reason, governments can't get involved in unions.
Yeah, and like I said, like there's probably is good reason for that as well.
But you've got like you have got certain socialist TDs or politicians that go on spouting about stuff, but then don't actually really give a shit.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. Until it comes, I feel like enough of traction of a story, then they all will jump on it. But very few will take the cause initially. They're like, I'm not really going to get too much brownie points for this. I think the whole thing's kind of fucked, especially parties that were formed literally because of unions. They're literally a company with the name that they run as. They run as a company for people in the labor industry and in the services industry. And they don't take that seriously. It's kind of astonishing that their core roots are being ignored.
That's like that with a couple of them. Like there's a certain other party that are all
for the people.
They're for the people, and they're for the people in the republic.
Yeah.
But when you contact them, they don't want to know about it.
Don't want to know anything about it. Yeah, there's a lot of that. I think I kind of feel like we're going to have a lot of that on our show, actually. But yeah, in terms of these 900 people who were let go, who we don't know if they have a union or not, we don't know if their union is corrupt or whatever, if they contact their local politicians. Is there any kind of information around, if they are going to find legal action or if they're going to go after this company?
I don't know. It doesn't really go into it. They all said basically we got fucked.
We got fucked. Isn't this bad? I kind of feel they go into the thing because, like we said, if it becomes a big story, then everyone wants a piece of it. But if it's not a big story, no one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, and it's like the fact that it's a mortgage company. I kind of feel like, because there is a lot of spout right now. I kind of went down rabbit holes in terms of kind of investment companies, and there's a lot of spouting about like Warren Buffett, who's seen as the goat of investment, and he has sold like 90% of his transactions, because you have to make them all public. People you can see what Warren Buffett is buying and selling on the stock market because of US law.
Yeah.
And he's bought one stock and he's sold big portions. And same with the man who used to own Microsoft, what's his name? Bill Gates. He's sold like 100% share in like Amazon. He sold all the shares in Twitter. He sold all the shares in a lot of big tech companies and like delivery companies. FedEx, it was another company they sold. I don't know if you sold all the shares in FedEx and a few other like kind of companies that will be work online. And so like I don't know if that's just maybe he thinks the pandemic is ending. People might go more retail shopping for a while, and so he thinks maybe the market for that is inflated. But there's a lot of speculation because of the pandemic and restrictions and inflation that's happening in the country, that's like there is going to be a recession afterwards. So I wonder if this is like the fact that a mortgage company is laying off 900 people. Is this like a kind of canary in the coal mine, the first signs of it?
Canary in a coal mine.
Yeah, if the canary dies, then that means there's like some kind of
poisonous gas.
Yeah, poisonous gas in there. So it's the fact that a mortgage company, Warren Buffett, and then your Microsoft guy, Bill Gates, there are selling all stocks. Is this the canary saying, "Oh, get the fuck out"?
Yeah, but you see, Bill Gates is too busy with the pandemic and trying to control everybody's minds with his new mind chip.
Well, yeah, but he also finds times to sell shares, sell. He bought he bought stocks in one company though. Can't think of what it was.
That's why he's selling the shares. He's selling the shares because he wants
to buy all the vaccine money. He wants to heavily invest in vaccines.
He wants to spend more time controlling everybody's minds.
Yeah, with the 5G. The 5G. So so I kind of feel like Yeah, I wonder if this is, because that's what everyone. I kind of feel like there's a lot of people out there that's hoping for a recession. There's almost a kind of like, oh, don't worry, there's going to be a recession coming soon. Because I know a lot of people in terms of they're looking for houses and they think the market, well, right now the market is really inflated, but they think, oh, there's a recession coming soon, so that the bubble's going to burst and the houses are going to reduce. But generally, if you remember the last recession, not a whole lot of mortgages are given out to people during recessions.
Yeah, generally banks go, I'm not giving you money, fuck off.
I'm not giving you money until you have a watertight deposit. You need to have every single one of your ducks in a row. So yeah, I kind of feel like...
Because you've got the whole great resignation thing going on as well.
In companies...
Yeah, like where people obviously have been like working from home, or they've been spending more time with their families because everything's closed, and people are going, hang on, this job that I'm doing is a lot of bollocks.
Yeah, there has. I think there's been a giant like mindset change, and yeah, it's great kind of like quitting and getting new jobs.
Like, so that's causing another problem.
Yeah, because I kind of feel like I noticed from our company, every person that has like made it to a trial has come from a job, but
yeah.
I think it's about 70% of of people that pass the interview process and come for a trial don't show up for the trial. Like 70%.
What?
Well, there's a few theories. Like we think maybe the PUP, some people might be on, but you want to be seen that they're going out looking for jobs. So, that they've applied and it just hasn't worked out. They can just say, but once they have the applications, like they've went for interviews and stuff like that, it makes it seem like they're trying to find employment.
Yeah.
And then the other one is like the market. There's a shortage of labor, so the market is quite competitive. So people might be applying for several jobs and picking their favorite of the two or three.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like it is crazy. So maybe we are. This is gonna be interesting times. I had a few things I was going to talk about. I think the first thing we will talk about is Tyson Fury's brother and Logan Paul.
Yeah.
What's Tyson Fury's brother's name again? I did a lot of research. What?
Tommy.
I always forget his name. Yeah, Tommy Fury. They are due to fight, and I think Tommy has a fracture in his hand.
He's broken rib and respiratory infection.
Oh, respiratory infection. I thought, yeah. I was looking at a picture of it, and I thought it was his wrist. I was like, oh, Jesus, it looks like he got some fracture there. But obviously, what I was looking at was his actual rib, not his hand. I was like, Jesus, that's a severe fracture.
His hands in shite.
Yeah,
his rib cage.
Because this is his rib cage. And yeah, Logan Paul, of course, has to mock him over it because you have to build beef.
Yeah, wasn't he giving out that Tyson didn't, or Tommy didn't build enough beef or something?
Oh, that was one of the big claims. There's also a video that resurfaced. Probably Logan Paul was getting people to share. It was Tyson Fury had said that his brother would beat Logan Paul with broken bone, with broken bones. Like he doesn't. Like he's that much better of a boxer, so like people are giving him stick. But like that's a very serious kind of like injury to get.
Yeah,
like you wouldn't be really able to go through any sort of a training camp, any sort of a sparring, let alone a fight.
Like a fight's gonna fuck you up if you got a broken rib.
Yeah, and a fucking bladder infection as well.
Imagine
a hit into the body after that.
Like, it's not going to be good for you.
Yeah, and like, especially with such a high-profile match.
And see, Tyron Woodley's stepped in to fill the vacancy.
Yeah. Isn't there kind of conditions, though, before they fulfill that?
I have no idea.
I don't really buy that beef either. the Tyron Woodley Logan Paul beef?
No.
Yeah, because I was watching a stare down in their last match, and both of them, like, I've seen like hundreds of stare downs, and there's a difference when the two fighters genuinely don't like each other, and when it's a bit of a shtick. Like, you remember, what's his name? He has like Submission Underground, Chael Sonnen,
Yeah.
and the Axe Murderer, Silva, Wanderlei Silva.
Yeah.
They didn't like each other. They could literally not go have a stare down because it would end in 50 cuffs. And like in Tyron Woodley's Logan Paul stare down, there wasn't any person stepping in. Both of them knew that there wasn't going to be any shots thrown. Both knew that he wouldn't get into a fight on stage.
Was there not some clause in their contract about paying if they touched each other before the fight?
Yeah, but like I kind of feel like if there was that kind of menaceness, there were like even like both of them seem quite calm. Like they're like I think we know when people don't like each other. I think and of course like the whole fighting thing, they kind of feel like there needs to be this kind of shtick of we really don't like each other.
Like I don't think Logan Paul ever doesn't like anybody because he's just a fucking idiot. But like I think Tyron Woodley probably does hate Logan Paul.
Do you think? Because like if it wasn't for Logan Paul, he wouldn't be getting this fucking paycheck. It would like it's not like he's signing a boxing deal to fight anywhere else. He's only really fighting. He's only interested in the Logan Paul thing because it makes him a lot of fucking money.
Yeah, he insulted his friend.
Of course, people are going to insult her. I know he insulted his mother as well.
Yeah, and he's very close to his ma.
Oh yeah, extremely close to his mom. His mom is like the sweetheart of MMA. Like I remember who's the welterweight champion in Usman, and she's like, after she's like going up to Usman. Usman's in tears. Like in terms of like after the fight, and he's like, "Oh no, you did really great." Like she was like kind of almost consoling Usman, like, "Don't worry about it, don't be upset. Congratulations, this is your time or whatever." And it's just like she was such a darling. I think the whole MMA community, once he starts slagging his mom, everyone's like, kill him now.
Yeah, fuck him up.
Yeah, exactly. And then it just didn't happen. I really thought like Tyron Woodley was going to be like too much for him. He's too athletic, even though he wasn't necessarily a boxer. He still was super strong in MMA. He still could throw quite heavily, and he is an athlete, so he kind of like he could adapt. I think adapting from boxing to MMA, especially for level of opponent, probably wouldn't be that hard.
I don't know either if like he wanted multiple fights.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What age is he? Because he'd be fairly on now, wouldn't he?
He must be like in his mid-40s.
Who? Tyron Woodley?
Yeah.
Mid-40s? I would have thought maybe late 30s. I would have thought 27. I thought 37 latest.
I would have thought he'd be in his 40s. Hang on, we look him up.
Yeah, look him up there. Mid-40s. Jesus, he's doing...
49, or he's 39.
39. All right. There's no one say mid. Yeah, but he's close to 40s. At that stage, like I also kind of feel like anyone who is an athlete, like they don't really plan, like, oh, what am I going to do after this? I kind of feel maybe he's in that stage. Like Daniel Cormier segued quite quickly. And you see, Paul Felder is another person who was fighting, but had already started commentating. So you kind of had an idea of what he wanted to do. And you see some people deal open up gyms and become quite successful at that. But in terms of like, you see other guys and like Clay Guida, I don't think he has a necessary retirement plan.
Yeah, most of them I don't think have retirement plans. Like it's like an afterthought. Oh yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, it's kind of like I've been so focused on, and that's the thing. What you say, like once you have one foot at the door, just leave because there's some young person who's like training every day, twice a day, with a goal of being the best in the world, and has so much energy. Like if you're kind of half thinking about retirement, it's already over.
Yeah, just do it.
Which I don't really agree with. I kind of feel like once you know what you're going to do and you have that in your head, at least you can work to that. And until then you can be focused. But like you have, like, because I know in terms of the IRFU, they actually have in terms of a policy where they actually have guidance counselors for players, and quite early on in career they kind of get them thinking what you want to do in case they might need to go to college. Might encourage them, all right, well, you can do part-time things, and they have even like work placement things where while they're still playing rugby, professional rugby, in off season they can get work placement, or they can they set up kind of meetings with businesses or investors in terms of how to invest their money properly, so that after they retire from rugby, that they can kind of transition easier into like a different kind of field.
Yeah, like that's a better idea.
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I remember hearing one of the rugby players talking about it. So like, that's what they do there. I think one of them work out.
Like if Dana thinks you're all right in UFC, you'll be all right.
Yeah, well, see, I think the idea is that like you can make a bootload of money if you get like all right financial advice. Maybe that money will tie you over till when you retire. But like for a lot of people, that can come at any stage. Not everyone has long, luxurious careers. I like Clay Guida for a while. Was living in a boat. He had a houseboat.
Was he?
Yeah, for a bit. I think there was a time where he was like living in a houseboat. I think it was his choice though. I don't think it was like he was financially stricken off. But I think for a bit he was like living in a houseboat. This is bad.
He always strikes me as a bit of a lunatic.
Yeah, because like what was that fighter who had a huge beef with Muhammad Ali? I know, not
Fraser.
Yeah, Fraser. He lived in his gym, like he was when he was like retired. So a lot of fighters go that way as well. It's quite sad. So I kind of feel maybe Tyron Woodley maybe has investment, and maybe this is just like a bit of fun. He can make a bit more money doing these fights, and like they're not that big of a deal. They're kind of like glorified sparring matches.
Like I'm sure Tyron Woodley would make a lot of money if he just go on and do like seminars.
Yeah, seminars. Go do kind of seminars, coaching, instructionals, and there's a lot of money made by I think like instructional videos and stuff like that as well. But yeah, maybe we're wrong, and he's actually fine, and he just wants to fight for a few more years while his body feels his body's fresh.
While his body still lets him.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I was going to talk about, I don't know if it's too much like political thing, but it's kind of annoying as well. Was on the contractation thing. I don't know if you heard this.
What's this?
So like obviously nightclubs, pubs, and all that were closed down in Ireland lead up to Christmas because you couldn't be having dancing. Apparently, the rules of like masks when you're not on a dance floor didn't work, Ken.
Oh, really?
Remember when we were talking about this a few months ago, and I thought it was a ridiculous idea that somehow having no masks on dance floors, but masks on outside dance floors was measures being implemented, and how they thought this was going to work.
So it didn't work.
It didn't work, and apparently numbers went up, but like we don't know now because if it was actually nightclubs and concert venues that were the cause of these numbers, because contractation isn't followed in nightclubs or entertainment venues. So the HSE, like this what annoys me about politics, because like they literally do this and they force companies to go through these measures, jump through hoops, so it makes it look like they're doing something. So for people outside Ireland, what you had to do in order to go to a nightclub or a late bar or a concert, they came ticketed events. So if you want to go to a late bar, you had to buy a ticket before you left. You had to buy a seat in area, and like companies or bars and late venues had to then develop their websites and had to develop online ticketing that you had to buy at least an hour in advance. And there's all this rush to get this on board so they can reopen it finally. And then it was just to make it look like the HSC and the government were doing something in order to regulate during the pandemic, because all that ticketing, all that contracts that they took you on late bars and nightclubs and gyms, I mean, fuck all, because they weren't actually following up if there was a person who was at any of these events or late bars and went into those bars with COVID. They weren't following up on any contract tracing in those places because it wasn't seen as a priority. Which boils my blood, because I remember where we train, right? I heard this and I didn't know if it was necessarily 100% true, but a while ago, I would have been in either early August or it was probably early August. I would have said was one of the people that where we train was in training, and while he had COVID, he didn't know at the time, and he was training with me. That's how I know it. And he did the right thing. He contacted Jim, said, "Here, look, I just test positive. I was training with Mark, blah blah blah. I'll have to put you down as a place where I was for contact tracing." And I never got a call. I never got a call off the HSC to say that I was a close contact. And I was like, oh well, it was literally the day I was in contact with him was the 7th day after being vaccinated. So it was my first day of being fully vaccinated, considered fully vaccinated. So I was like, oh, they must have done. They must have checked and seen that I was fully vaccinated, so didn't follow up on contact tracing with me. Now, the reason he said it was that the person on the phone that he was talking to, in terms of giving contacts and who he was in contact with and where he was for the last 7 days, said, "Oh no, in those places, none of them will turn up for the testing center, so we're not going to even bother." And it was just very much like, we're not going to even bother getting the names of the people who are there or the person that you're training with. We're just going to leave it, and I'm sure it'll be grand.
It gets even worse now. Do you know what the thing is now?
What?
You can only list 5 people.
You can only list 5 people.
Yeah.
Give me your most 5 people. But
girl in work tested positive.
Yeah.
And they were like close contacts. And they were like, a close contact is defined as anybody you've spent 15 minutes with. Like, it doesn't have to be 15 continuous minutes, 15 minutes in the last 24 hours before you tested positive. So she was like, okay, there's like everybody I work with. And they were like, no, you can only list 5.
You can only list 5. Hold on, horse there. Only list 5.
Yeah, you list 5, the 5 that you've had most contact with. And if one of them tests positive, they list the next 5. And then if one of them tests positive, they list the next 5. And that's how your workplace gets
shut down.
Yeah.
If you were in a, it must boil your blood though a little bit, like that fact that you had to jump through all these hoops in order to have and it's those reinsurance. The reason you're doing this is so that you can stay open. The reason you have to have these ticketed events and you have to employ somebody to develop a website so you can sell tickets was for this, and then they were shut down a few months later anyway, and all that contact tracing, all that numbers, all that names that you're taking was useless because, like, we're not going to follow up. We're not going to bother following up anyway because I'm sure they won't turn up for the tests anyway. So it was just so annoying. I was like, this is the reason why people don't trust them, because like they're literally just making regulations, so it makes it look like they're doing something when really in reality they're not.
Yeah, there's a lot of venues as well that are not following whatever protocols you're supposed to follow either.
Yeah, like 100%. I was in bars there, and they weren't following to the letter of the law, the regulations, as well. Like, and like one of my friends recently tested positive who after being at a gig, and I was like, oh, like I'm surprised that they don't name concerts just in case you were at the gig and maybe be asymptomatic. But if they said like, oh, there's been links to whatever concert, several people have tested positive who were at this concert, so like the government is advising anybody who's at that concert to get yourself tested, even if you feel okay. Like, wouldn't that make sense? Like, wouldn't that be an easy thing to do?
Yeah, they'd probably argue that, it's like fucking whatever, 5,000 people.
No, all it is like putting it out on a bulletin. Here, this concert, there's been several people from this concert who's tested positive. So if you're there, get yourself tested. And I know or even antigen tests, do a home test for a few days. And if you can stay at home, stay at home. But yeah, that was my grind my gears segment of the podcast. No, really grinds my gears.
Turn into Peter Griffin.
Yeah. And I think about my final story, and we don't have any idiots this week as well.
You don't have any idiots?
No, but this.
No, let's throw Machine Gun Kelly in there.
Oh yeah, him and his Calvin Klein thing.
I don't know. Did he do something else this week? I was just going to throw him in for the crack just because he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah, they had a weird. There's some other guy, I don't know who it was, but they stripped into their underwear, and there's a time where your man was like, I think it was Machine Gun Kelly was pouring popcorn, and your man was trying to catch it in his mouth. It was in like a hotel room, and yeah, they were wearing Calvin Klein clothes, and they stripped into their underwear.
Machine Gun Kelly and Pete Davidson.
Yeah, Pete Davidson, and yeah, and that I didn't read too much into it. I was just seeing that they said it was just peculiar. People were saying.
No, yeah, because they said that their penises are growers, not showers.
All right.
Yeah.
So that's why they kept on their underwear.
Yeah. So let's just say that Machine Gun Kelly is a fucking idiot.
Well, see, the thing is, like, it was clearly just like marketing from Calvin Klein. They're like, here.
Doesn't matter. He's an idiot.
Yeah. So that's why Machine Gun Kelly and your man Pete
Davidson.
Yeah, will be shown in there as well, I guess. So they're idiots of the week. But what I was going to talk about was work parties.
Right.
Are you a fan of work parties?
Depends how you define a work party.
A Christmas work party.
Not usually, because you see, 95.8% of the people I work with I hate.
Yeah. See, that's the thing, because like no one will strike the fear of God into you after a night out as a work party where you've had one too many and you're not quite sure what you said, or else you can kind of remember what you said.
I generally don't care.
Do you know?
No, because I know that if it's one of the people that I like, I wouldn't have said anything stupid, and if it's one of the people that I don't like, then they deserved it.
I've heard one person who, after seeing that the boss was drinking a non-alcoholic Guinness compared it to licking at your relative, and said this to him. So I imagine he woke up to fear the next day. But I always, no matter what the event is, I always do wake up to fear, because sometimes I kind of can forget what happened on a night out, and sometimes I'm like, who did I say it to? Because like I know a few people last time I was out with, and a few times I've had parties out, they've always seemed to clash in the same place at the same time. So there'll be two kind of parties on at the same thing, and like there's I kind of like to keep things separate. Like I kind of like to go out with my friends and keep work separate. Like in work, I don't want them seeing me drunk. So anytime we're forced to not forced, but there is a thing you kind of feel you have to go to it.
So anytime that you're forced.
Yeah. You kind of feel like, and then at the same time, there's another party with people where you would drink with, and you're kind of like, oh, well, what am I going to do here now? and you're kind of then they see you in a state, and then you might say something to them. And have you ever done that? Do you have any time where you kind of like a person I know who said that about to his boss? Was there time where you were out drinking and you said something to a person you work with? You're like, oh, I really shouldn't have said that.
There was a time when I had gone to a different store to work for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
To train, and the store manager there, he had a name that rhymed with something really bad, and he was a dickhead. And our Christmas party and that store's Christmas party happened to be in the same place. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. So I went over to him and I was like, hey, do you know what your name sounds like? Your name sounds like you cunt. And I was like, that's because you are a cunt.
And the next day, what was that like?
The next day, I was just like, yeah, I told him he's a cunt because he's a cunt.
Yeah, well, at least he knows. You're like, well, at least he knows now.
Like, yeah, my store manager was like, here, I got a phone call. We need to talk about this. And I was like, guy's a dick. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, so that's fair. Like, the next day, can you be held responsible for your antics at a work party? Was another thing. Because
you probably can, but like,
yeah, because like a lot of places go, what happened at the work party? Well, let's all just forget about that because we're probably all better off. But like, yeah, there are a few times I've heard stories where people have after he even got fired after their antics at a work party.
Yeah, like I just generally don't care.
Yeah, generally, yeah. I just pretend and just go into the point where you're just trying to ignore the people you might have said embarrassing things to for a bit. And you're just like brush that under the carpet, and there's that always that awkward conversation the next day when you first see them again, and you're kind of like, oh, do we bring it up? Do we address it, or do we ignore it? And there's just that awkward tension.
Like the people that I don't think are assholes in work know that I don't think they're assholes,
and the people that do.
The people that I do think are assholes generally know I don't like them.
So last 2 years, I don't know if where you were last 2 years, you kind of have you said, oh, you know, we'll leave the work party this year, or have you went ahead of it?
No, we haven't had one. We have, we recently, like this year, the last 6 months maybe, got a new boss who isn't very COVID safe, who decided would have a Christmas party until it was decided that it would be like head office sent down a memo saying, we've heard that some people are planning Christmas parties. This would be bad publicity. Don't do it. Yeah,
so then it was kind of abandoned. Are you a fan of the work party then? I've probably already asked you this.
Not really. Yeah. I just, same thing happens. I go and there's like 4 or 5 people that I actually give a fuck about. We go off, we abandon everybody else, go and get bladdered, and then fuck off somewhere else.
See, that's the thing. Like, anytime I went out to work parties, we've all just we probably in the same place, but we all go off in our separate ways. Like, you know, people who are all nights out there, and you're gonna end up hanging out with them instead. And yeah, there's like, you don't actually spend unless it's like, I know some places they hold events in it, like they have a room or whatever. They got like they have a function room and they have it there. I imagine those are shit crack.
Yeah. They're actually not that bad.
Are they not?
Like we've done that a few times. We've had kind of like gone to a hotel or whatever, and because there's not many of us that work where I work, and we've gone to like a hotel, and it's one of those like stupid themed nights, like it'd be like a fucking James Bond theme or something.
Yeah.
And there's like loads of different companies and people there and stuff, and it just ends up being a bit of crack because you end up going, I hate these cunts I work with, so I'm going to go hang out with these other people that I don't know.
I don't know. You're going to hang out with them instead. I always hear that on these big, especially if it's like a big office, there's always hooking up that like with people in the office. That's all the goss. That's what people live for, is the goss after these big work parties. I don't know if this happens necessarily in your place. You're probably throwing a lot of people under the bus if you said yes.
I'm going to not answer that.
Plead the fifth.
Yeah.
Plead the fifth. Yeah, that's how I hear out of these things. It's the most fun out of all the things is the goss that happens after the work parties.
But the goss after it, if you're finding out the goss after it, then generally you're probably one of the trusted people.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be telling the non-trusted people about it.
Well, do you know what? The only person you can really trust is yourself in the Bible. in that circumstances. Because that's the shows. But yeah, well, maybe they tell their friends, but they don't tell necessarily people that will get back to work. They have to tell somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I wonder if will it come out? Do you think it will, like, as soon as this is over? Because I know a few places just before all the pubs and all that closed down, everyone was on a massive rush to get their work parties in. But there's a lot of places like ours and like yours where they've kind of abandoned it. I wonder if they'll get rid of it altogether. I wonder if there is that. Do you think there's a lot of people missing work parties, Christmas parties, or do you think people could take them or leave them?
I'd say it's 50-50.
Yeah,
like I know the problem that I have with work parties is that I work for a very, very, very fucking profitable company, but they're fucking stingy, and you have to organize and pay for the Christmas party yourself.
Oh, that is bad. That is really bad.
Like, you have to organize, you have to go and figure it out yourself, you have to organize it yourself, you have to pay for it yourself, you have to, like, there's no money provided for, like, even to buy everybody one drink. Like, it's go and do your own thing, sort it yourself, like.
Yeah, I kind of feel that's really bad out then. But yeah, I do think I can't agree with you. I think there are some people who they almost look forward to it every year. Just kind of that it's almost like their highlight of their year, for whatever reason. And then there's people who, I'd say, if he's more like me, would kind of rather for it probably not to go on. There's like it's kind of a they can take it or leave it. And a lot of times they could leave it. Like, it's just kind of I have to go out with these people.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with it.
Yeah.
Except for about 4 people. 4 people that I'm like, you know what? I would actually drink with these people every day. And then there's like...
But generally, if you are like that with people, you'd probably go out regularly with those people anyway. Yeah,
and then there's like the other people that you're like, oh, I hate that person.
That's why I think it's probably better off if you are going out, and if it's not necessarily a big company, you obviously couldn't do this with like hundreds of people. Just go to a comedy show, because then they all get the piss taken out of them. Because that's one of my friends. He works for a company. And they have different departments. Instead of going out as one big company, they just give money to like whatever teams they work in, and the teams can kind of decide what they want to do. So it might be 20 people. It'd be in a team. And one of them decided to go to a comedy thing, and when they found out what company they worked for, they just ripped the piss out of him constantly every time they came back in, and he would be targeted out, and he'd be like kind of slagged off. I think like I could probably say the industry that he works in. Without getting him in trouble, but he would be kind of pointed out as and going, "Oh, that's the person that denies people mortgages," and just slags them off.
I wonder what industry they work in.
And just like ripped into him like constantly about that. He'd be like, come back in. It's like, oh, refused any more mortgages while we were gone, and then went back into there. But like, I think at least then, like, if you are in a group where you necessarily don't get on with people, you can just make sit in a venue where you don't have to talk to each other, and that just be slagged by a professional bully.
By a professional bully.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was a good idea. Because there's always that awkwardness. I remember being on a few where it just went silent, and people are just on their phones, and there's people every now and then attempts to make a conversation, and then it goes nowhere. And so that silence, that dreadful silence, and then you try to make a conversation, and it goes again. And you both everybody realize we don't want to be here together. Let's go to a nightclub. Where we don't have to talk to each other.
Yeah, where we can just all go our separate ways and abandon our...
Everyone away. I usually go my separate ways no matter who I'm with. Got in awful trouble for that last time I was out. So it's like, oh yeah, does he do this often? Yeah, he disappears. You don't see Mark. He just flutters about. Yeah, so I think we'll leave it there with our 221st. We never even last week we didn't even acknowledge our kind of 120 show. We said it was going to be a big thing.
Did we?
Yeah, I think we did. I think we said we were going to do it, and then we didn't.
Fuck it.
Oh, well. It's like when you get older, the numbers keep rising. You just don't want to. You kind of want to ignore them.
Yeah, it's just like, fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. We will be back next week, or 222nd, with the same enthusiasm as we had today. So I'll talk to you then.
Good luck.